nothing too, like I've said before.
Personal.
Yes.
Well, what have you got to like divulge? Who do you like? what interesting, or not even interesting, but what like sordid things have you got in your past that you might dig into? This isn't a therapy. I'm not here to like open up Pandora's box with you. I need my notes up because I'll forget where we are. Yep.
Do you know what?
What?
You might be surprised at what things I have to divulge.
I bloody wonder.
Anyway,
There's my notes.
We'll not be going there.
I've just realised I haven't brushed my teeth today.
I feel kind of dirty.
Morning all, I brought my mum back to do more videos with me because apparently you all enjoy her wisdom and inspiring nature, and apparently she's more of an influencer than I am because the videos that we've done with you seem to garner the most views, which is quite annoying.
Well, there you go.
So I've kind of realised that people aren't here for me, they're here for you.
They're here for you.
So
I'm here for you. But anyway, come on, let's go.
This is gonna be good.
We are going to talk about love and relationships, and that idea stemmed from me thinking about how there is a lot of things that as a parent, you say you're going to talk to your kids about, but I think a lot of the conversations barely scratch the surface and don't go any deeper than just kind of,
Be careful.
We're not going to talk about sex. Calm down. But it did stem from that conversation where initially I said we've never really actually had the birds and the bees.
So it is about sex.
Well, no, we're not talking about it, but not in the sense that you think.
I think that we have had that conversation about the birds and the bees.
No, well, not to my knowledge.
Well,
I mean, I remember the only time you said we're going to have a conversation was when you found a pair of a girl's knickers underneath my duvet in my bedroom, and you were like, right, we need to go downstairs and have a talk, and that never happened. I don't remember that talk ever happening. It was more of a threat than anything to kind of be like, what the hell are you doing?
I think we were going on holiday that night.
Were we?
Or the next
I was getting
day,
the practice in.
because I'd come home early to kind of pack and to get organised, and I don't know where you were meant to be, but you weren't expecting me back home as early as I got back. And then it was kind of like mad panic. I went up to your room, the girl ran into your bathroom, and then it was kind of like all a bit embarrassing, as I remember.
Did the vibe feel off? Did I look stressed? Did I?
Actually, no, because you're too laid back. Nothing to read. You should have been stressed, but you weren't. You made a joke about it.
I think I kind of remember hearing, you coming up the stairs and making a point of being like,
loud.
Whose shoes are these at the door? Like, not recognising like this like girl's pair of shoes, and again putting your bloody.
You knew that I was there.
Oh yeah, but I know what you're like though. Like you put your like Poirot hat on, and you like be going like investigative mode, and it's like you instantly know what's happening.
Isn't that what we do, parents?
But I kind of just remember you coming up and me just kind of being in a pair of shorts and topless, and just turning around and being like. Right.
Well, I didn't hang around. I went down to my bedroom, and then I think the girls scuttled out, and then you came up to see me and made a huge joke of it with these pair of pants in your hand. Red, I remember they were.
Maybe that was a defensive mechanism. Kind of getting over my issues through humour. So even like when it comes to things like breakups as well, like, because that's an absolute shitstorm. And again,
I'm the worst person to talk to about relationships, given how unsuccessful I've been and my track record.
well, haven't we all? I mean, for who's been single longest? When was your last relationship? So I'm 31. Mine was 10 years ago.
No. Yeah, but
I've had dalliances with women since then, but I haven't been in a relationship.
Do you know, but there's something to be said for not rushing into serious relationships, don't you think?
Oh, definitely.
You know, you're at a good age now where I think you've grown into yourself. You understand your emotions better. You're emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
I think you've been around. You've got lots of girlfriends, women
I've
friends.
been around.
No, but you've got a lot of kind of just friends, women. So, you know, when you have conversations with them. So I think you'd be, if anybody's listening, he'd be a great candidate for a long-term relationship.
This is my issue right now, though, because it's, you know, I'm still living at home at 31, and God forbid I meet somebody out and I'm like, oh, would you like to come back to mine? Yes, that would be lovely. Okay, well, I just have to be a little bit quiet because my mum's living in the next room. So let's just tiptoe in and, you know, let's just be quiet, hush, hush.
I know. That's difficult. But I'd stay out of the way because I'm keen to get you into a relationship.
I mean,
so,
I'm not being funny, but like, I remember I brought one girl back once and you thought it was like me and Sadie walking out the door. Sadie being my sister, and I think you knew it wasn't Sadie. You knew I had somebody in, and you came stomping through this kitchen, opened that door, and were like, "Where are you two off?" And you kind of realised that like I was trying to sneak somebody out of the house, and you just went, "Oh," and then just kind of.
I would never do that if I'd have thought.
I'm sure you must have sensed a little something because you stormed through the door.
I never, and that's why I thought it was you and Sadie. But I would never have done that. I think I would have been more embarrassed if it had been somebody that I didn't know. Well, which it was, and I was embarrassed.
So that was the first and last time. Well, not the first time I ever brought anyone back, but it was the last time.
But was it?
Oh, but a one-night stand though.
You shouldn't be having one-night stands in your parents' house. But anyway, that's a whole.
It's a different conversation. But. Yeah, like, you know, even like things like going through breakups or like they're tough. And again, when it's the first time you're going through it, it's kind of like a bit of a shitstorm. Like I remember, again, the first time I broke up with someone properly, like first love, and I remember you coming up in my bedroom, and did I just stop crying in the middle of the night?
Yes.
And you kind of came up my bedroom and you were just... I
think you came down, actually. You came down to my room and you were really, really upset. But the funny thing was, you were absolutely distraught. So we sat, we talked about it. We were up like ages. Obviously, I was concerned. And then the next morning, we got a kind of a plan of action. I tried to offer some advice, and you wanted to try and win her back. So we got this plan of action together. And then less than an hour later, it was, that's it. No, we're not doing it. Kind of.
So the plan of action was we're going to buy some flowers and we're going to send some flowers over to her, and we're going to have a card.
Which I did.
That was going to kind of
I bought the flowers.
There I shall be waiting to win back her heart.
But then, so we bought the flowers. But then I think after the dust settled and I was thinking on it more, I was kind of just like,
no,
I know that like this isn't going to fix anything. Like it's done.
Which was quite at that time, it was quite a mature approach, I thought.
But I think maybe before that, I think I'd been round hers. And I went round kind of like unannounced, and I kind of knocked on the door, and her parents were there. I was like, is such and such in? They were like, yeah, she's just upstairs. I remember going upstairs, and I think I got a little bit teary when I was there, but not bawling my eyes out, but I was upset. I was just kind of like, what's going on? Because basically I got dumped by text, and it was kind of, well, not dumped, but it was kind of like, look, I want to go on a break. We're not breaking up. It's just kind of, I need a bit of space. And then I heard nothing. And I was just kind of like, what's going on? Like, and as you do, like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, maybe a mature version of me would have been like, right, I'll give you space, and like, you let me know like when you've worked through it. But like, a younger me was like, I need to know what's going on. It's been a day, like, what's happening? And I remember going round and just kind of being like, what's happening? And again, she just said the same thing, like, I just need space, I need time to think, blah blah blah. And again, it was just kind of like no amount of information and no amount of like anyone telling you that, like, you know.
Because the thing is, when you're younger,
you just feel like shit, and no one can tell you that, like, no one can tell you anything that's going to make you feel any better about the situation.
And people don't like to say, do you know what? It's just, it's not
She's gonna dump
working.
you.
Yeah, and even the person who's doing the dumping, I think that they just don't want to say to you that, you know, they feel bad, they know it's going to hurt you, and I think there's an element of that, and that doesn't matter what age you are.
And yeah, I think that, as you say, like that, even like dumping someone, like shoe on the other foot, like,
it's awful.
Yeah, it's that balancing act of, I can just tell them outright that, right, you know, this is done, I don't want to be with you, like, just rip the band-aid off. Or you kind of do tiptoe around it, and you're kind of a bit like, oh, maybe there's a chance, I don't want to kind of like I don't want to completely cut your hopes, and, you know, like, you just pussyfoot around it, and you don't break up with people. Then you get back together, and then a week goes by, and you're like, yeah, I should have just told them there and then that I should have dumped them. Then you have to go through the process all over again. It's a shitstorm.
I think we should break up!
Do you know, I always say, and I've said this to you before, in every walk of life, it doesn't matter what the relationship, whether it's romantic, whether it's family, whether it's work, relationships are the hardest thing in the world to succeed at. Absolutely, they are just so difficult. And then, excuse me, as you get older, people change as well, and if you don't change together, you know, you get on different paths, and then before you know where you are, you can't get back on track. And there is a reason why, and it's a researched fact, I do believe, that the relationships go in 7-year cycles, particularly romantic relationships. They are just so hard. When you meet somebody at whatever age, say in your early 20s, by the time you reach your 30s and then your 40s, you're not the same person, and you change, so you've got to try and change together. I mean, as hard as that is.
I've struggled to get over the 8-month cycle, never mind the 7-year cycle.
But why? Why do you think that is?
I'm emotionally broken.
I think I've always put too much pressure on relationships needing to be perfect. Well, not relationships. One, women needing to be perfect. Like I quite often I used to go into relationships having picked out faults in people, so I kind of had like a bit of a get out of jail free card. When things got tough, that'd be a bit like, oh well, there's this little thing that I kind of don't like, so like I'm just going to kind of get out of it, kind of thing, rather than just allowing myself, like, because I'm not perfect, no one's perfect, God forbid, like, you know, I'm aware that like I'm trying to pick faults in people, but like they're probably seeing faults in me and being like, this is fine, this is great, whatever. But I'd like look for faults in people, because it was a bit of like a,
I'm just gonna let Cody out.
Okay. I'm opening
listening.
up and you're letting the dog out.
I'm listening.
I'm like letting my innermost thoughts come out, and you're leaving me for the dog. This is why I can't be vulnerable with people. This is why I run away from relationships, because I get left.
He would have barked. Anyway, I'm listening. So you were picking faults, looking for faults.
Is this still on? Because you've dropped that so many times as well. Right back to me, please.
You were picking faults.
Yeah, so it's like I'd pick faults in people, and it was kind of like a way for me to kind of escape in a relationship when things got a little bit too tough, or when, you know, I started to get a little bit worried about how intense things were getting. Because I think it gets to that level in a relationship as well, where like it gets to that point of, right, 6 months or 8 months in, and it's starting to feel serious, and I'm kind of thinking, right, this is becoming like a long-term relationship. If it goes any longer, like we're kind of in that territory of like things are going to be hard when it comes to like breaking up, and that kind of brings a certain fear within me. So it's kind of like sometimes to get to that point, and I'm like,
a lot of people go through that though, particularly.
Oh, and I'm not assuming like I'm any different. I'm like like going through something super personal that no one can understand, but it's like a fear that I've kind of had where I get to that point and I'm like, right, is this going to be it? Is this what I want? And like, I think every relationship I've had, like I have got to that point where I've been like, right, I don't want to kind of continue. I kind of need to get out.
Get out right now. It's the end of you and me.
But again, that might be kind of me just kind of understanding what that means. That might me just kind of being like, yeah, I don't want to be in that relationship. And I think it's why from 21 up until now that I've kind of taken the time to kind of like not rush into relationships, or kind of just take a bit more time to kind of understand myself and who I am and what I actually want out of a relationship, and
that's really
kind
important.
of take the time to kind of think more about like, who do I actually want to be with, and kind of not going out and actively like looking and pursuing a relationship, but rather just kind of enjoying dating more, not putting so much pressure on it, and kind of just allowing things to kind of occur more naturally, I suppose. And
don't you think I find that people rush into relationships more these days. I know back in the day when I was young, it's kind of a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of a contrast in terms of what I'm saying. Back in the day, the majority of people would leave school, work for a few years, then get married, have kids, and the woman would stop working, etc., etc. But I think now people rush into relationships and living with people. I think that kind of relationships are more disposable now, actually, than what they used to be.
I'd agree.
Obviously, the divorce rate, people, the divorce rate is quite high, of which I'm a casualty.
And how does that make you feel?
Do you know what? It was the right thing. It was the right thing, and I have no regrets about doing that whatsoever. So I have, obviously I'm sad that I'm divorced and that you grew up with a single parent. Obviously, I mean, that's my one huge regret. But I think that it was the right thing because I think the household would have been unhappier. So that was really important to me. But I think that people rush into relationships, they live together for a short period of time, and then 6 months, a year later, it's over, and then they move on again. That is just my experience of people that I know, and they don't take time to really get to know that person. And I think it was a good point that you made. It's important to know what you want from an intimate relationship, I suppose, before you actually get into it. But everything is quick and easy these days, having sex and so on and so forth. And then but again, there's lots of different relationships, isn't there? There's relationships where it's just a casual thing that you're going to meet up and have sex.
But I think this is where that kind of the importance of communication comes from. And I think from the perspective of me taking time out to kind of understand what I want and, who I am and what that means for like a relationship and, what I'm looking for. And I can be like communicative within that. And I can be more communicative about my feelings within a relationship in regard to like, growing into, like I'm worrying about where we are, when you first start dating and kind of like you're figuring out like, where do you see us going? How do you feel? Like what's going on? It's kind of been
more a woman or girl thing, do you think? Is it more about girls who think about that?
I don't know.
Or
I mean,
do men
again, I
think
think
about
men
that?
think about it as well. I mean, I think about it. I mean, I don't speak for all men, but I think about it. But it's been one of those things where I've needed to kind of learn from my own perspective that, like, I need to be more communicative in the early days, because I do, you know, I like to know what other people are thinking, like what like the boundaries are in regard to, like, right, you know, we're 2 months in. Is this just like a casual thing for you? Are you kind
so
of
hard.
like, how do you feel? But I don't see that as a hard conversation now, because I think it's an important conversation, because at least you can kind of get on a page where it's kind of like, no, yeah, I'm still just enjoying getting to know you. Like, you know, I don't want to not date you. But I just kind of want to carry on just exploring what this is, and vice versa. Somebody might be like, actually, like, yeah, like I am kind of feeling a certain way. I do think I'm kind of growing feelings for you. You know, how do you feel? And just kind of communicating that and understanding that, so like one person isn't just kind of going on assuming that like everything's hunky-dory and like this is all great and wonderful, when somebody might be a little bit like, oh, actually, like, I'm not kind of sure, you know. And I think, again, that's from my perspective where, you know, I think too much, and I'm wondering, like, one, how do I feel, what am I going through, but also wondering about what their feelings are and where they're at, and I need that. Hence why I think it's important for me to kind of be able to have those conversations early on. Hence why I kind of go into, like, when I start to date now, and I kind of do open up those.
But
like,
you can be having that conversation too early on. I think you've just got to go with the flow for a period of time, don't you think? So you meet somebody you like them, you have a few dates, and you enjoy each other's company. Then, you know, what is the time scale? I think it just flows naturally,
Yeah.
and if it's there and you're both feeling it, you know that you're both feeling it. But you can't put a time scale on that. It's like, how long do you go out with
but
somebody?
I mean, I'm not necessarily putting a time scale on it as much as I'm just kind of aware of how I'm feeling.
I'm freezing now. I have to close that door.
Sorry,
I know,
once
honestly,
again,
I'm freezing.
and we wonder why I've been single for 10 years, because I open up to women, and all they want to do, and the mind's elsewhere.
Right, so we were talking about timescales.
The barriers are up. The barriers are up.
No, come on.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
No, but I think it's more, I'm aware of how I'm feeling. So, and I'm not going to talk on my feelings.
Dead air.
Do you know, relationships are horrible, and this is why, right at my age now, I've been married, divorced, I've had other relationships, as you know, which have failed equally. So I'm at that point now, that age now, where, and you know what my thoughts are, because I've told you all, that's it, no more, don't want to have any more relationships, because of the conversation that we're having. There's the overthinking, where do we stand, what, all of that, and that, it's just like too much for me now. I don't want to go there and do it. Plus, you know, kind of like, for me, I'm happy being single. I don't want a relationship. I'm comfortable kind of being on my own, doing my own thing, having nice friends, etc., etc. But I appreciate that you're at a completely different stage in your life where, you know, you want to meet somebody and settle down and do all of that. Have that kind of like a family. And I want you to have that as well. But do you know what? I think there is.
You'll be waiting a while.
I know. But that's what I'm saying. Come and snap him up. Somebody, he's great. Loads to offer. Lovely, lovely person.
What have I got to offer?
Oh, everything. You're funny, smart, handsome.
Is that it?
That you've got a good career. No, everything.
Got a good career, still at home.
My emotions!
My emotions! It's going so well.
He's nice to his mum. So, yeah, you've got loads going for you. But
Do you
anyway,
want me to do a version for you?
No, but shut
Snap
up.
her up. She's great. She's
Right, enough.
headstrong.
No, I'm not.
She's a successful businesswoman.
Enough.
She's what?
Enough.
Why is this difficult for you?
Because it's embarrassing.
Why
Right,
is it
stop.
embarrassing?
So what I was coming on to say was, I completely lost my track. Oh no. So for me, you don't have to rush into relationships. Do you know what I think is the secret to a successful relationship?
Go on then.
And at my age now, I think I've worked it out. Don't live with anybody. Don't get married, but you can still be committed to somebody and live in separate houses. Have your own space. Always come together. Be committed to each other. Love each other. You know, do all of that. Maybe even have children. Who knows?
I mean, I'm not being funny as well, but like, I think I've never really enjoyed sharing a bed with anyone else.
Me, honestly.
Like, I can't get comfortable in the same bed like as anyone. I'd rather sleep on my own. I think that'd be one thing where I'm like, get in your own bed. Or like, at least I'll sleep on the sofa, like on the floor.
And if somebody snores, I mean, how awful is that? So, absolutely, because I think people need their own space for a relationship to thrive and to grow. You need your own space, your own interests, your own friends. You can't live in each other's pocket and kind of smother each other.
Yeah.
You know, you need your own space, and to be interesting as well, to just keep that interest. What's worse, you know, when you go out and you look around and you see people who are sat on tables and they're not talking, they're on their phone or they're looking around, and you just think, my God, I'd hate to be like that. So that is just my own personal opinion, speaking from experience. I know that kind of marriages and all of that work for some people, and that's great.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous. It didn't work for me. But you need your own space. For a relationship to thrive and grow, you need a life outside of the relationship.
Amen to that.
I used to joke about men being 30 and living at home with their parents, because I was like, oh God, like, how old are people who, like, you're old in your 30s and you're like living at home, but now I'm that person.
But it's the norm now, though.
But
it's more common.
It's more common, yes, but I think from like a male masculinity perspective, I feel a little bit like emasculated because I am that person who's still 31 living at home. And when it comes to dating and getting to that point where it's kind of like, you want to take somebody back, you can't just kind of say, oh, come back to mine, because again, I live at home. And again, that's not like a big issue, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to be like, well, I can't have those conversations, I can't kind of take things to that level, I have to go back to theirs.
Do you know,
and even just letting them know that, like, oh yeah, like, I'm still living at home. I hate having to do it, and sometimes when I'm just dating and like talking to people for the first time, I'll just kind of steer away from like saying that, like, I live at home, because I'm embarrassed.
But it is a big issue, isn't it? It is a big issue, and I think if it were me, I think...
You're still, she's still there.
I just wondered what that was. I think it would be an issue for me. I wouldn't like to say that, probably, but it is more the norm now. A lot of people are still living at home with their parents, and it's not going to be forever. It's a means to an end, isn't it?
Yeah.
For you. You know, you've got your path, and you know what you need to do, and you'll do it. So...
Yeah.
Wow, life is hard.
It works both ways. What if I wanted to bring something?
But what is that like?
Well, because I don't though, so it's not an issue for me, and it's different for parents anyway, isn't it? But
meeting somebody at Hoochie Coochie.
Sorry.
If you want to come back, just my son's in. Just be my little angel's sleeping. Just
shut up. Shut up. Is that it? Is there any more to discuss before we wrap up?
I think we've spoke a lot. I think that was a good half hour, however long this conversation was?
It seemed longer than half an hour to me. What time is it?
Because having conversations with me drag on, did they?
No, it's just...
Seemed longer than that.
It's because it's not a conversation that I'm particularly,
Comfortable with?
Well, no, it's kind of letting people know a little bit
let's
more
do a little.
about me,
Let's
isn't
do a
it?
little conclusion on that. How do you feel after this conversation?
I feel
Or these
fine.
conversations that we've had? What are the takeaways? What have you learned about me, yourself, if anything?
I know what you're like, I think. And I know that you're emotional. You're not... I don't think that you're frightened to be vulnerable.
I'd agree.
I think you've showed some vulnerability today, which is nice. I think that's important. Actually, that is important in a relationship, isn't it? Just to show every side of yourself and not think that you've got to keep your feelings in and be somebody that you're not. Anyway, I'm rambling on now. So.
Well, basically, we'll come back to this conversation in another 10 years and we'll see where I'm at.
And he'll still be living at home, no doubt.
Lovely. Lovely.
Joke!